When I came home and found my boss cleaning my kitchen, I thought I had finally hit the part of adulthood where humiliation became creative. She was standing at my sink in a charcoal pencil skirt, white blouse sleeves rolled to her elbows, yellow rubber gloves on her hands, scrubbing dried spaghetti sauce out of a plastic bowl shaped like a unicorn. My daughter's unicorn bowl, my boss, my kitchen, at 8:40 on a Tuesday night. For 3 seconds, I just stood there with my 7-year-old asleep against my shoulder and wondered if exhaustion had finally started producing hallucinations. Then Maris Quinn turned from the sink, saw me, and froze. "Graham," she said. That was worse than if she had yelled. Maris never used my first name like that at work. At work, she said it like a task. "Graham, I need the revised numbers by noon. Graham, this budget gap is not a personality trait. Graham, do not tell me the client is flexible. Clients are never flexible. They are either uninformed or lying. My name is Graham Porter." I was 36, a senior project coordinator at an architecture and restoration firm in Portland, and until that night, I had spent 2 years believing Maris Quinn was made entirely of deadlines, black coffee, and quiet disappointment. She was not cruel. That mattered. Cruel people make noise. Maris was worse in the office because she was usually right without needing volume. She saw weak plans, late deliverables, bad estimates, and excuses before anyone finished presenting them. She had this way of looking over the top of a report that made grown men suddenly remember missing attachments. I respected her. I feared her a little, and lately, if I was being honest, I had started disappointing her, not loudly, not catastrophically, just enough. A missed call during a client revision meeting, a late permit packet, a typo in a cost schedule I never would have missed a year earlier. I could feel her watching the cracks appear in me, one small mistake at a time, and I hated that she noticed. Because I had reasons, I just didn't say them. My daughter Molly had been with me full time for almost a year. Her mother moved 2 states away after remarrying a man with a lake house, a beard, and the emotional range of a weather app. She called when she remembered, sent money when the guilt got organized, visited when it made her feel generous, so it was me. School drop-offs, lunches, homework, lost library books, dentist appointments, nightmares, parent emails, dance shoes, cough medicine, grocery lists, laundry that multiplied like it had legal rights, and work. Always work. I got good at appearing functional in public while my house quietly became evidence against me. That Tuesday, everything collapsed at once. At 4:30, Molly's school called because she had a fever and had thrown up on the reading rug. At 5, Maris texted me that the Hargrove file was missing from the shared drive and the physical folder had the only signed markup from the structural consultant. At 5:12, I realized the folder was on my kitchen table because I had brought it home the night before and then fallen asleep beside Molly's bed while helping her memorize spelling words. I told Maris where it was. She replied, "Can someone retrieve it?" The client call is tomorrow morning. I stared at my phone while Molly leaned against me in the school office, hot and miserable. There was no someone. There was me. There was always me. So I sent the message before pride could stop me. Spare key is under the blue planter. Folder should be on the kitchen table, I'm sorry. She replied only, "Understood. Take care of your daughter," that was all. No lecture, no extra period to make it colder. I should have been grateful. Instead, I spent the next 3 hours at urgent care feeling like my private life had been opened with the wrong key. Molly had a stomach bug. Nothing dangerous. Just fever, fluids, rest, and the kind of exhaustion that made her fall asleep in the car before I left the parking lot. When I carried her up the front steps, I expected to find the folder gone and my house judged in silence. I did not expect running water. I did not expect lemon dish soap. I did not expect Maris Quinn in my kitchen with Molly's unicorn bowl in her hands. Her eyes dropped to my daughter asleep against my shoulder and her face changed. Not pity. Something quieter. "Oh," she said. That one syllable hit harder than it should have. I shifted Molly carefully. "What are you doing?" It came out too sharp. Maris looked at the sink, then at the gloves as if she had only just realized how insane the scene was. "I came for the Hargrove folder. I figured that part out." Her jaw tightened slightly. Good. Familiar. Boss Maris was easier than this woman standing in my kitchen like she had found something breakable and didn't know where to put it. The folder was on the table, she said. Under a lunchbox, 2 permission slips, and a drawing of a dragon wearing glasses. Molly's in a fantasy phase. It was well rendered. Maris. Her eyes came back to mine. The use of her name did something strange to the room. She looked tired suddenly, not work tired, human tired. I was going to leave, she said. Then I saw the sink. Heat rose in my face. I looked past her. The kitchen was worse than I remembered. Plates stacked unevenly, a pan soaking with water gone cold, Molly's medicine cup by the toaster, half a peanut butter sandwich wrapped in a paper towel, coffee mug, school forms, crumbs everywhere, a life held together with tape and apology. You shouldn't have touched anything, I said. I know. You're my boss. I know that, too. This is... I looked around humiliated and angry because humiliated men often grab anger when they can't find anywhere else to put their hands. This is not your problem. No, she said quietly. It isn't. That should have ended it. But she turned off the faucet, pulled off the gloves, and picked up a folded piece of paper from beside the sink. I recognized Molly's handwriting before I saw the words. Big, uneven letters, purple crayon. Maris held it carefully like it was not hers to handle roughly. I found this under the bowl, she said. I didn't move. She looked at me, then down at the paper. Dad, she read softly, I saved you half my sandwich because you forgot dinner again. Don't be mad, I washed my bowl. Molly stirred against my shoulder. The entire house went silent. I stared at the note. I remembered the sandwich now. I remembered telling Molly I'd eat after one more email. I remembered waking up at 2 in the morning on top of my comforter with my laptop still open, a blanket Molly must have dragged over my legs. I had thought that was sweet. Now, with Maris standing in my kitchen holding the proof, it felt like failure. I swallowed hard. She's a good kid. She is. The words were simple. Too simple. I looked at Maris. Please don't. Don't what? Turn this into a performance review. Her face shifted. For the first time since I had known her, Maris looked hurt. Not offended. Hurt. I'm not here as your boss right now. That's convenient. Her eyes sharpened. No, it's complicated. There's a difference. I should have apologized. I didn't. I was tired. My daughter was sick. My kitchen was exposed. My boss had seen the part of my life I had been trying to keep behind a locked door. And now she was standing there with the one sentence I could not defend myself against. Molly was trying to take care of me. That was the part I couldn't look at. Maris set the note gently on the counter. Then she took one step closer, keeping her voice low so she wouldn't wake my daughter. I didn't clean because I thought less of you, she said. I cleaned because your daughter is starting to think she has to help hold you up. That went through me so cleanly, I almost couldn't breathe. My grip tightened under Molly's knees. Maris saw it. Of course she did. She saw everything. But this time she didn't use it against me. Her voice softened. How long have you been doing this alone, Graham? And that was the first question in months I didn't know how to survive answering. I didn't answer her. Not because I was trying to be difficult. Because if I opened my mouth, something honest was going to come out. And I had built my entire life around keeping honest things scheduled for later. Molly shifted against my shoulder and made a small sound. That saved me. I need to put her to bed, I said. Maris stepped back immediately. Of course. I carried Molly down the hall to her room. She barely woke when I tucked her in, just turned her face into the pillow and mumbled, Did we get the pink medicine? Yeah, Bug, I whispered. We got it. Did you eat? The question hit me in the chest. From the kitchen doorway, I felt Maris hear it too. I brushed Molly's hair off her forehead. I will. You always say that. Then she was asleep again. I stayed beside her bed for a few seconds longer than necessary, one hand on the blanket, trying not to look like a man being dismantled by a 7-year-old with a fever. When I came back to the kitchen, Maris had not left. She had folded the dish towel over the oven handle and placed the Hargrove folder neatly near the door. The sink was clean. The counters were mostly clear. The room looked less like evidence and more like a kitchen again. That made me feel grateful and ashamed. The shame won first. You really shouldn't have done this, I said. I know. You keep saying that. Because it's true. She leaned against the counter, arms folded lightly, no longer wearing the gloves. I crossed a boundary. Yes, I had permission to enter for the folder, not to clean your kitchen. Exactly. And I would apologize better if I believed leaving that note under a dirty bowl was the right thing to do. That shut me up. Maris looked toward the hallway where Molly slept. She shouldn't be worrying about whether you eat. I know that. Do you? I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. You've been in my house for half an hour and now you understand my life? No, she said. But I understand what a child's handwriting looks like when she's trying to be brave for an adult. That was too specific. I looked at her. For the first time, I wondered if this wasn't just about me. Maris noticed the question but didn't answer it. Not yet. I opened the fridge mostly to stop looking at her. There was leftover pasta, 3 juice boxes, a bag of carrots, and a container of something I no longer trusted. Maris came closer, peered inside, and said, "That container is making decisions." It's soup. It was soup. I closed the fridge. You always this calm after invading an employee's house? No, usually I schedule it first. A laugh escaped me before I could stop it. She smiled, barely, but it changed her whole face. At work, Maris was all precision, angles, control, clean lines. In my kitchen, sleeves rolled up, hair slightly loosened. She looked less like my boss and more like a woman who had also survived too many long days by refusing to fall apart in public. That thought was dangerous. So I walked to the table and picked up Molly's note. I'm trying, I said quietly. Maris didn't soften the way people usually did when a man said something vulnerable. She didn't rush to comfort me. She just listened. That made it worse. I get her to school, I get to work. I make the meetings I can, I pick her up, I answer client emails from the parking lot. I cook badly, I clean worse. I sign reading logs at midnight. I keep telling myself next week will be normal. And is it? I looked at her. No. She nodded. Like that answer mattered more than any excuse I could have given. How long has her mother been away? Almost a year. She's not involved? She's involved when it's convenient. I rubbed my eyes. That sounds bitter. It sounds factual. She calls, sometimes. Sends gifts that don't fit. Promises visits, cancels half of them. Molly still gets excited every time. Maris's jaw tightened, but she didn't comment. I appreciated that. My sister helps when she can, I said. But she has 3 kids. My parents are in Arizona, and I kept thinking if I just got better at the schedule, it would stop feeling like drowning. Maris looked around the kitchen. Graham, she said softly, drowning people don't need better calendars. I looked down at Molly's note again. That was the first moment I felt the anger leave me. Not all of it. Enough. I'm sorry I snapped. You were embarrassed. I was rude. Both can be true. I smiled faintly. That sounds like something you'd put in a performance review. Her face changed. A small thing, but I caught it. What? I asked. She looked away. Maris. She exhaled slowly. I was going to put you on one. The kitchen went still. A performance review? Formal improvement plan. Her voice remained steady, but her eyes didn't. Missed deadlines, inconsistent availability, quality slips. I had documentation ready. I stared at her. There it was. The thing I had known was coming and still wasn't ready to hear. She continued, Then tonight, I walked into your kitchen and realized I had been documenting symptoms without understanding the cause. I should have felt relief. I didn't. I felt exposed all over again. So, what happens now? I asked. Professionally? Yes. I can't pretend the issues don't exist. Right. But I can also acknowledge that our firm has no real structure for single parents or caregivers who hit a crisis point. She looked at me directly. That's not only your failure, that's ours too. I didn't know what to do with that. At work, Maris gave verdicts. Tonight, she was admitting the system had missed something, and for some reason, that made me trust her more than if she had simply said, "Don't worry." She picked up the Hargrove folder. "I'm going to take this. Tomorrow, I'll talk to HR before I talk to you. Not as a punishment, as protection. For both of us. Protection? I'm your boss. I was alone in your house tonight. I cleaned your kitchen. I saw things I shouldn't have seen." Her mouth tightened. "If I make any decision about your performance now without transparency, it becomes messy." The word landed between us. Messy? It already was. Molly coughed from the bedroom. I turned instinctively. Maris did too. That shared reaction did something strange to the room. For half a second, we were just two adults listening for a child. Not boss and employee. Not a man humiliated in his own kitchen, and the woman who had seen too much. Just two people who both knew what mattered. Then Maris stepped back, as if she had felt the same shift and knew exactly how dangerous it was. "I should go," she said. I walked her to the door. At the threshold, she paused and looked back at the kitchen, then at me. "You don't need to prove you're a good father by doing everything alone." I looked at her, and something in my chest moved before I could stop it. "Maris?" Her eyes held mine. For 1 second, she looked like she wanted to say something that had nothing to do with work. Then she gave me the folder. No, not the folder, a boundary. "I'll see you tomorrow, Graham." She left before I could answer, and I stood in my doorway, watching my boss walk to her car, realizing that the most dangerous thing she had done that night was not cleaning my kitchen. It was making me feel, for the first time in a year, like maybe I didn't have to survive my own life alone. The next morning, I found Molly sitting at the kitchen table in pajamas, eating dry cereal from the unicorn bowl. The clean unicorn bowl. She looked around the kitchen with suspicious eyes. Did Grandma come? No. A cleaning fairy? Close. She narrowed her eyes. "Dad? What? Did you clean?" That was the most insulting thing my daughter had ever said to me, and once a feverish 7-year-old had told me my pancakes tasted like warm envelopes. "I have cleaned before," I said. She looked at the counter, the empty sink, the folded towel, then back at me. "Not like this." "Fair." I poured her juice and checked her forehead. Better. Still warm, but not scary. The urgent care doctor had said she could stay home one more day, which meant I had already texted my sister, rearranged 2 calls, and promised Molly we would watch exactly 1 movie if she kept fluids down. 1 movie became 2. I'm not proud. At 10:30, my phone rang. Maris. I stared at the screen long enough for Molly to notice. "Is that your boss?" "Yes." "She sounds scary." "She is." Molly considered that. "But she washed my bowl." That sentence did something strange to me. I answered. "Graham Porter. Do you always answer your phone like you're about to testify?" I blinked. "Good morning to you too." There was a small pause. Then Maris said, "How is Molly?" Not "where is the Hargrove file?" Not "are you available for the client call?" Not "we need to discuss last night." How is Molly? I looked at my daughter, who was now feeding cereal to a stuffed rabbit and whispering, "You need nutrition." "Better," I said. "Fever's down." "Good." Maris's voice shifted, more formal. "I spoke with HR." There it was. The floor under the conversation changed. Walked into the living room. "Okay." I disclosed that I entered your home with permission to retrieve a work document, that I saw personal circumstances relevant to your recent performance issues, and that I performed a personal task I should not have performed. That makes it sound worse than it was. It was inappropriate. It was kind. It can be both. I hated that she was right. She continued, "I am not issuing the improvement plan." I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "But," she said, "of course, but we are documenting a temporary caregiver accommodation, adjusted morning availability, block school pickup window, backup coverage on urgent client calls, and a revised workload plan for the next 8 weeks." I sat slowly on the edge of the couch. That sounds like a lot. It should have existed already. The sentence was simple, but I heard the anger under it. Not at me. at the machine around us. And because of last night, she said, I won't be your direct reviewer for this period. Daniel Price will handle formal performance documentation. I'll stay on project strategy, but not your evaluation. That should have comforted me. Instead, it felt like a door closing, which was stupid, responsible, necessary, still stupidly painful. You're stepping back, I said. I'm creating a clean line. Right. Graham. I closed my eyes. There was my name again. Not boss voice, not entirely. I am not doing this because I think less of you. I know. You don't sound like you know. I know it professionally. A pause, then softer. And personally? That question should not have been allowed through a phone line during business hours. Before I could answer, Molly called from the kitchen. Dad, the rabbit spilled. I stood. I have to go. Of course. Then, before she hung up, Maris said, One more thing. Yeah? The Hargrove call went well. Your note saved us about 40 minutes of confusion. I almost laughed. That's my specialty. Preventing expensive confusion. I know, she said. That's why I noticed when you started drowning. The call ended. I stood there with the phone in my hand, feeling both protected and exposed. By Monday, I was back in the office. The accommodation was official. Quiet, but official. My calendar had new blocks. Daniel handled the documentation meeting with the mild terror of a man who had clearly been briefed by Maris. I did not want to disappoint her. For the first time in months, I left at 3:10 without lying. I picked Molly up from school on time. That alone felt like a miracle with sneakers. But the office noticed things. Offices always do. On Wednesday, I walked into the break room and heard someone stop talking too late. A junior architect named Paige stood by the coffee machine. Two others suddenly became fascinated by granola bars. I reached for a mug. Paige said too casually, Everything okay with Quinn? I looked at her. Why? She's been involved. The words sat there sticky and ugly. I set the mug down. Before I could answer, Maris appeared in the doorway. No dramatic entrance, no raised voice. Just Maris holding a folder. Expression calm enough to make everyone regret being born with opinions. If anyone has concerns about Mr. Porter's schedule adjustment, she said, you can direct them to HR Daniel Price or me. If anyone is speculating about a single parent's private life to make their own afternoon more interesting, I suggest finding a billable task. No one moved. Then Paige whispered, Sorry. Maris looked at her. Better choices next time. She left. The room breathed again. I followed her into the hall. Maris. She stopped near the stairwell but didn't turn right away. You didn't have to do that, I said. Yes, I did. They'll talk more. They were already talking badly. Now they'll talk carefully. That almost made me smile. Then she finally turned. Up close, I could see the cost of her control, the tension near her mouth, the tiredness under her eyes. She looked immaculate, as always, but less untouched by the world than she had before my kitchen. I don't want you taking hits for me, I said. Her gaze sharpened. I'm not taking hits for you. I'm correcting a room that needed correction. That sounds familiar. I have a style. You do. For 1 second, the hallway went quiet in a way that reminded me too much of my kitchen. Then her eyes dropped to my shirt pocket. I looked down. Molly's purple crayon note was folded there. I had brought it without meaning to. Maris saw it. Her expression softened so quickly it felt private. Good, she said. What? You kept it. I touched the pocket. Yeah. She looked like she wanted to say more. Instead, she stepped back. 3:10, she said. Don't miss pickup. I smiled faintly. Yes, boss. Her mouth curved. Barely. Don't call me that in this hallway. Then she walked away, and I stood there realizing the clean lines she had drawn at work had done absolutely nothing to stop what was happening everywhere else. The next few weeks did something strange to my life. They did not fix it. They made it visible. That was different. With the caregiver accommodation in place, my calendar stopped looking like a trap. I picked Molly up at 3:10 without inventing excuses. I answered client emails after she went to bed instead of from the school parking lot, while she waited beside the office door with her backpack dragging on the floor. Daniel became my formal reviewer, which should have made everything easier. It did. Professionally. Personally, it made Maris Quinn harder to understand. She was still in meetings, still sharp, still capable of making a contractor regret underestimating installation costs. But she did not linger by my desk. She did not ask about Molly unless there was a clean reason. She did not give anyone, including me, one loose thread to pull into gossip. That should have relieved me. Instead, it made me miss my own kitchen, not the mess. The truth of it. One Friday afternoon, Molly's mother canceled another visit. She did it by text. Something came up. "Tell Molly I'll make it up to her." I read the message in the school pickup line and sat there with my hands around the steering wheel, feeling the old anger come up tired instead of a hot. Molly got into the car holding a paper sunflower she had made in art class. "For Mom," she said. I looked at the flower, then at her hopeful little face, and I hated every adult who had ever made a child practice being understanding. "She can't come this weekend, Bug." Molly went quiet. Not crying, that was worse. She just folded the paper sunflower carefully and put it in her backpack, like disappointment belonged in a zipper pocket. That night, she spilled cereal on the kitchen floor and burst into tears before I even reached for a towel. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm sorry, Daddy, I made more mess." I froze, then I got down on the floor with her. "Molly, hey, look at me." She shook her head. I touched her shoulder gently. "You're not a mess I have to clean up." She cried harder. So I sat there on the kitchen floor, cereal under one knee, holding my daughter while she finally acted like a 7-year-old whose mother had hurt her feelings. Later, after she fell asleep, I stood at the sink and stared at the clean bowl in my hand. Then my phone buzzed. "Maris." "Daniel said you had to move Monday's site visit." "Everything okay?" I should have typed something simple. "Yes. Family issue." Instead, I wrote, "Molly's mother canceled again." She cried over cereal because she thought I'd be mad about the mess. I stared at the message. Too much, too personal, too late. "I sent it anyway," Maris replied after almost a minute. "I'm sorry, then. She is lucky you sat on the floor." That one almost undid me. Because she knew. Not the whole scene, but enough. The next Monday, Maris asked me to step into conference room 4 after the morning meeting. Daniel was there, so was HR. My stomach tightened until Maris said, "This is not disciplinary." She sat across from me, professional, controlled, but her hands were folded too neatly. Daniel explained the revised structure. Effective immediately, I would report fully to him for performance, scheduling, and workload. Maris would remain on 2 shared accounts only as design director with no authority over my review, pay, promotion path, or accommodation. HR confirmed it. Clean line, real line. When they finished, Maris looked at me. "This should have happened sooner," she said. I could hear the sentence under it. Before my kitchen, before the note, before whatever this became. After the meeting, I found her in the stairwell. Not because I had planned it, because apparently my feet had gotten tired of pretending. "You're really stepping back." She looked at the landing below us. "I'm stepping out of the part where I have power over you." "And the other part?" Her eyes came up slowly. There it was. The thing we had kept polished over with policy and schedules. "The other part is exactly why I had to," she said. I gripped the railing once, then let go. "Maris, no." Her voice was quiet. Let me say this carefully because I have spent weeks being careful everywhere except in my own head. I stopped. She took one breath. "I think about your kitchen too much." The stairwell went still. She gave a small, almost embarrassed laugh. "Not because it was clean when I left. Because it was the first place I saw you without the version of yourself you bring to work. And I have not known what to do with that since." I looked at her. "Do you regret it?" "Cleaning?" "Seeing." Her face softened. "No." That answer landed in a place I had not known was waiting for it. "I need to tell you something," I said. Her shoulders tightened. "I don't want you because you helped me," I said. "I don't want this because I'm tired and you were kind. I've asked myself that every day because if this is gratitude wearing a nicer shirt, then it isn't fair to either of us. And, and I think you scare me because you saw the ugliest room in my house and didn't make me feel ugly in it. Maris looked away fast. Not fast enough. I saw what it did to her. A door opened below us. Voices entered the stairwell. We both stepped back before anyone reached the landing. That was our whole situation in one movement. Too much truth, then 2 steps apart. That evening, I came home to find a paper bag on my porch. No note. Inside were freezer meals from a local place, a small box of crayons, and a new set of kids-safe bowls, not unicorns. Dinosaurs. Molly held one up like treasure. Did Grandma send this? No, I said. Cleaning fairy? I looked at the bag. This time, I smiled. Maybe. My phone buzzed. Maris. Not from your boss. From someone who knows Tuesday nights are hard. I read it 3 times, then typed, "Can I call you?" She answered on the second ring. I should not have left food on your porch, she said. Probably not. Was it helpful? Yes. Then I'm only moderately sorry. I laughed and the sound felt like a window opening. We talked for 20 minutes. About Molly, about work, about nothing, about everything except the one thing breathing between us. Then Molly called from the living room. Dad, the dinosaur bowl is for cereal only. It has a legal purpose. Maris heard and laughed. Not the office almost smile. A real laugh. Warm, surprised. Hers. Something in me shifted. After Molly went to bed, I stepped onto the porch with the phone still at my ear. Maris, I said. Yes? I don't want to keep meeting you only inside emergencies and policy corrections. Silence. Then her voice, softer. Neither do I. What do we do with that? We go slowly. Good. And honestly. Good. And not in your kitchen at midnight while your daughter sleeps down the hall, and I am holding a sponge like a woman with boundary issues. I laughed quietly. Specific. I've had time to reflect. 2 weeks later, we had coffee. Not at my house, not near the office. A small cafe with bad parking and no shared history. She wore a soft gray sweater instead of a blazer. I wore a shirt without a stain, which Molly called suspicious. The conversation was careful at first, then less careful. By the time we walked outside, dusk had settled blue over the street. Maris stopped beside my truck. I need one more clean line, she said. I waited. If we do this, Molly cannot become the reason. She won't. I mean it. I care about her already, and that scares me. But I won't step into a child's life because I'm lonely or because you're overwhelmed. I know. And I won't be the woman who confuses being needed with being loved. That sentence hit hard because it was the exact fear I had not known how to say. I stepped closer. Not touching. Not yet. I don't need you to clean my kitchen, I said. I want to have coffee with you when it's already clean. Her eyes filled, just a little. Then she smiled. That may be the least romantic sentence that has ever worked on me. Strong brand identity. She laughed, and then finally she kissed me. Softly, briefly. In a parking lot beside my old truck, with no office watching, no dishes in the sink, no child needing us, and no crisis turning honesty into an emergency. When she stepped back, her eyes searched mine. Too soon? She whispered. I shook my head. No, I said, just soon enough to scare me. Her smile trembled. Good, she said. Then we'll be careful. And for once, careful didn't feel like distance. It felt like the beginning of something I might actually be able to keep. Careful turned out to be harder than reckless. Reckless has momentum. Reckless lets you make one bad decision and then pretend the speed made you innocent. Careful requires showing up the next day and choosing the same person with your eyes open. Maris and I chose careful. At work, we stayed clean. Daniel remained my reviewer. HR had the structure documented. Maris and I did not hide in stairwells, did not linger after meetings, did not turn the office into a place where people had to guess what was happening between us. Outside work, we went slowly enough that I almost lost my mind. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became Sunday walks. Sunday walks became Maris standing on the edge of Molly's soccer field one chilly morning, holding 2 paper cups of hot chocolate and looking more nervous than I had ever seen her in a boardroom. Molly spotted her first. "Cleaning fairy?" Maris closed her eyes. I nearly choked on my coffee. Molly ran over, shin guards crooked, ponytail falling apart, and gave Maris the kind of hug children offer before adults have time to prepare emotionally. Maris froze for half a second. Then she crouched and hugged her back. Not too tightly, not trying to claim anything, just present. When Molly ran back to the field, Maris stood beside me, eyes suspiciously bright. "She shouldn't call me that," she said. "She has a legal system. Once you enter it, appeals are difficult." I brought hot chocolate once. You also washed the unicorn bowl. That bowl has become part of my permanent record. I smiled. She looked at the field where Molly was now running the wrong direction with total confidence. Then Maris said quietly, "I'm scared of hurting her." That was why I loved her. Not because she cared about Molly, because she respected the cost of caring. "You won't be perfect," I said. Her eyes came to mine. I shrugged. "I'm not. Her mother isn't. Nobody is. But if you're honest with her, consistent with her, and you don't make promises for the version of yourself you wish you were, she'll know the difference." Maris looked back at the field. That sounded like something a good father would say. I didn't answer right away. A year earlier, I would have brushed it off. Made a joke. Shrunk the compliment before it could touch me. This time, I let it stand. "Thank you," I said. Her hand found mine for 1 second. Just one. Then she let go because we were still in public, still careful, still building something Molly could trust. 6 months later, Maris left the firm. Not because of scandal, not because anyone forced her out, because a preservation nonprofit offered her a director role, and for the first time since I'd known her, she chose work that did not require her to turn herself into a blade every morning. On her last day, she walked past my desk with a box of files and said, "Try not to let Daniel approve ugly trim. I make no promises. You make many promises. Most of them involve schedules. Fair." She smiled. Not the office smile, the real one. That night, she came over for dinner. Molly insisted on helping. Helping in this case meant dropping shredded cheese into the salad and declaring it texture. Maris wore jeans and a soft black sweater, and she stood in my kitchen chopping tomatoes like she had always belonged there, and was still polite enough not to assume she did. After dinner, Molly fell asleep on the couch during a movie, one sock halfway off, mouth open, hand still inside the popcorn bowl. Maris and I stood in the kitchen. The same kitchen. Clean enough. Lived in enough. Not perfect. I looked at the sink, the counter, the place where she had once stood with yellow gloves and my daughter's note in her hand. She followed my gaze. "I think about that night," she said. "Me too. I was terrified you'd hate me." "I almost did." Her mouth curved. "Reasonable. For about 10 seconds. And after that? After that, I think, I was terrified you wouldn't leave." Her face softened. I stepped closer. "You saw too much," I said. "Then you stayed respectful about it. That's a rare combination." Maris looked down, then back up. "You let me see it." "No, you caught me. At first." Her voice lowered. "Then you let me." That was true. And maybe that was love in its least dramatic form, not being found perfect, but being found honestly and not running from the person who saw it. A year after that first night, Molly brought home a school assignment titled My Family. She drew me too tall, herself with purple hair, and Maris standing beside us holding what appeared to be a frying pan. I asked about it. Molly said, "That's because she makes real breakfast." I said, "I make breakfast." Molly looked at me with pity. Toast is not a lifestyle. Maris laughed so hard she had to sit down. 2 years later, we bought a house together. Not because we needed a rescue, because we wanted a life with enough room for all of us. Molly picked her bedroom based on good dragon lighting. Maris labeled moving boxes with terrifying efficiency. I installed new shelves in the kitchen before we unpacked anything else. The first morning there, I came downstairs and found Maris and Molly making pancakes. There was flour on the counter, eggshell in the bowl, a smear of batter on Maris's sleeve. Molly looked at me, guilty. We made a mess. I walked into the kitchen, kissed the top of her head, and reached for a towel. Good, I said. Means it's ours. Maris looked at me over Molly's head. Her eyes said she remembered. So did mine. 3 years after Maris cleaned my kitchen for the first time, I asked her to marry me in that same kitchen after dinner, while Molly pretended very badly not to watch from behind the pantry door. I didn't make a speech about being saved. Maris would have hated that, so I told the truth. You didn't fix my life, I said. You helped me stop pretending broken things were proof I had failed. You made room for me to be tired without making me small. You loved my daughter carefully before you ever asked her to love you back. And somewhere between the unicorn bowl and the dinosaur bowl, I stopped imagining home without you in it. Maris covered her mouth. From the pantry, Molly whispered, "Say yes." Maris laughed through tears. Then she looked at me and said, "Yes." Years later, people asked how we got together. Maris usually said, "I found his kitchen in unacceptable condition." I'd say, "She violated several boundaries and improved my dish situation." Both were true. Neither was the whole truth. The whole truth was that she came for a folder and found a father trying to disappear under the weight of being dependable. And instead of judging the mess, she saw the love underneath it. What would you have done if you came home and found your boss cleaning your kitchen, only to realize she wasn't judging you? She was seeing how hard you'd been trying to hold everything together? And have you ever had someone notice your exhaustion